Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Sulaiman Rahim here. Welcome. War Talk. Sisters and brothers, another session of War Talk. This is critical analytics, but another session of War Talk. In this session, we're going to talk about the war. So you be crystal clear about what to expect, what's going to transpire. But first, I want to mention something I talked about previously about stars. If you're a star fueled by this angel, then you will shine. No doubt about it, you will shine. You can't help it. But if you're a star fueled by anything else, then you won't shine. It's called a black hole. It's a star, but it doesn't shine. It just absorbs memory. See, it's a dead star, or it's just memory. See. In other words, if you say, I mean, yes, child, how much is 3 plus 7? It's 10, 10. How much is 7 plus 3? I don't know. Because they're memorizing. They don't know math. See? So when you're fueled by the angel, you won't be memorizing. You know what you're talking about because it's mathematics. Angel is mathematics, it's spatial mathematics for the mathematical mind. Is your mind be returned to you. And that's why you see I can apply the angel in almost every situation and there's no contradictions. It adds up every time. Not like Farrakhan, these clowns over there. Nothing adds up. They say one thing, next thing, you don't have no control over your creation of your children. It's God. He's in the womb making your babies. Really? So God in the womb making the babies, and you and the woman have no control. You and the man have no control over this, right? The male and female has no control over it. So why do you need it, male and why do you need the egg and the sperm? Well, that's what material God uses, right? Okay, then. And he's the one that's doing all this, right? So then you say God's a man. So God's a man. So Master Muhammad, you say he's the God. So he's in everybody's womb making the babies that the mother and father had no control over. So I guess that refers to animals also. So he's very busy. See? But nobody's ever seen him when they look in the microscope. They've seen him waving back at him. So what happens to mentally challenged babies, what they call them, right? Or deformed babies. So he fell asleep, you know what he's doing. See, all this is bullshit. Where crack babies come from. See, all this is bullshit because nothing adds up. So I'm not going a lot of detail, right? But when we talk about the angel, you see, we can apply it to every situation. It always adds up. It connects all the dots. Connects all the dots. See? So the angel is spreading light on the situation. That's how you know it's light, because now you can understand what's going on around you. You open your eyes and you see. But as soon as you don't see anything, everything is darkness. How you know it's dark? Because you don't know where it is. Where's the angel? I don't know. Where's Jinn? I don't know. Where's God? I don't know. Where's heaven? I don't know. Where's hell? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because they're in darkness. That's why they don't know. Same thing with Farrakhan. Same thing. He's in darkness. He don't ask who is Michael. I don't know. Who is Jinn? I don't know. He's saying the same thing. I don't know. Who's Adam and Eve? I don't know. Who's Jah? I don't know. Can you see where the angels? I don't know. He got the same story. Because they're in darkness. But when you ask somebody just a true angel warrior, they know what those things are because they can see. The eyes are open. And they all can tell you they can tell you what's going to happen before it happens because they can see. Foresight. See? What's going to happen in 2020? Oh, well, it's going to be a plague. They're going to kill the firstborn. 1619, 2019, that's 400 years. So it's 2020 be a plague that will kill the firstborn. That means the elderly. What happened in 2020, Farrakhan? I don't know. What happened in 2021? I don't know. What's going to happen with this war? I don't know. It's going to be a war. Who's going to be in this war? I don't know. I know it's going to be a war though. Be specific. When it's going to start? Who's going to be involved? Where it's going to start at? How it's going to end? I don't know. Because they're in darkness. But once you study and your eyes open, now you see these things, and we're going to talk some more about that. We're going to talk about it in excruciating detail. Because we have a bright light. It said be a bright light that dispels the darkness, pierce through the darkness, a bright light. They have no light, because that's why, you understand? That's why they don't know what anything is. Because if you're in the darkness, if everything is dark, okay, where's the chairs? I don't know. Where's the light switch? I don't know. Where's the door? I don't know. Where's the window? I don't know. Because they can't see anything. They're feeling their way around. But you turn the light switch on, right? And, oh, there's the windows, there's that. You can see everything. So when you talk angel, we see everything. There's nothing hidden to us. We tell you what everything is. That tells you right there. Anybody's not with angel, they don't know anything. Ask them. Ask them what they know. Ask them who is what. Ask them. Ask. They can't tell who Michael is. They can't tell who Gabriel is. They can't tell who anybody is. They can't tell anything. Who's Lucifer? They don't know. They don't know. Who's the demons? I don't know. Because they're in darkness. But you ask somebody that knows the angel, and they can tell you everything. Who the dragon is, who the beast are, where 66 is, everything. That's the difference between the darkness and light. That's what I mean, darkness. Not talking about like darkness and, you could relate it to sunlight and outer space, whatever. But that's the point. It's still analogies to that. See? And the thing is this light doesn't cost you anything. Their darkness costs you. You got to pay for their darkness. You have to pay for this. Sun doesn't give you a bill. It lights up everything and doesn't give you a bill. How can you go wrong with this? It doesn't cost you anything. Nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody's controlling you. In fact, it's trying to give you back control. We are trying to control you. We're trying to give you back control of yourself. So what problem would you have with this? See, there you go right there. Mm-hmm. Okay, brothers and sisters, we're going to move into this because it's quite a few things I want to talk about. See. War talk. Talk about this war. War pressure. Try to talk about in terms of pressure at this point. See here, this is just an analogy, right? Just an analogy. Let me kind of move myself out of the way here a little bit. Do it like this. Okay. What I'm showing here is basically, generally, how the nations are. Right? And I mean, it's not precise, it's not even close. But just to give you an idea. We talk about energy deprivation. We're not the only ones suffer energy deprivation. All the nations suffer energy deprivation. Energy deprivation. It's just some suffer from different levels. We suffer from the point where we didn't even control ourselves, so we end up here, under control of Massa, the devils, right? But Africa, which is next to us, see, they higher on the level of the other ones. They suffer energy deprivation too, but not as bad as we did. So that means their nation was all, the continent was all broken up. Instead of being one united continent, it was all broken up to all these different nations, right? And who maintained that? The Europeans. Europeans kept them all broken up, right? In our case, right, America kept us totally, we had no control of ourselves, we were enslaved, to no control. Energy deprivation has totally, we had lost control of our nation altogether. But Africa, right, it just broke. The continent just broke up. The Levites just broke up. See, into different segments. But we thought lost control of ourselves altogether. But then you go to Asia, right, and they wasn't as broken up as Africa. They was segmented in different, a couple of different tribes, right. Basically, what you see today, right, is you got just take for example, you got Pakistan and India, same people, right, but it's divided. Okay. Then you go to the Orient, right? They're not as broken up as Asia, right? They got a couple of fragments, Japan on the side, Taiwan, a couple of things, right? But they're pretty much united. China's pretty much united. It's more united than Asia is. You see the point here? And what's keeping Asia? What got Asia got divided Asia up? Britain, Adam, Magog. See, and what kept what's keeping Orient? It's a conflict between democracy and communism, right? And that's because of Russia. Because where did they get communism from? They got it from Russia. You see the point here? See, so that's pretty much the case, and that because remember they personification of our energy deprivation. So in our case, right, America is the worst. So they, they totally just devastated us, right? Then Africa, right, is colonized by Europe. So in other words, you got all these different countries now. And then Asia was dominated by Britain, British Empire. See? And then along came communism, and that's how they got Orient separated into two categories: Democrats and communists. You understand the point I'm making here? The point, you see what I understand this? Because I'll make a point in a minute. See? So right now, the problem is that everybody wants to come back together, because that's the whole thing. You want to come back together. So if you get energy, your energy is going to be focused on pulling yourself back together, because you pulled apart. You was pulled apart, right? Because that's what these countries, the European countries, they represent the tension that's pulling you apart. So who's pulled apart more than anybody else? So we receive energy every 50 years, approximately 50 years. It says it comes you, it's momentous in the heavens and the earth, right? It's momentous in the heavens and the earth. I'm trying to prove my diction. It's momentous in the heavens and the earth, but it comes you above the sun. That means it's a result of an energy wave that from the contracting universe, right? And it says we receive, right, a wave approximately every 50 years. It says it will be absorbed by the earth changes to a form we can use. And then once it's a form we use, we take the energy and our minds control it, convert that energy to a form, based on our minds. So right now, Europeans, their minds are dominated, so we in society that's control the environment, that a vision or a reality that's controlled mostly by their minds. That's changing, right? Because they're using our creativity, but they're controlling it because they're technicians, so it's taking the form they wanted to give it, right? So they're taking the energy from everybody else. They're taking energy from all these nations, but they convert it to form they want to use. So they're exploiting all the nations, but they have the power. That's why they're the rulers. They have the power to take energy and control it, convert it to the form they want to use. And that's why the Europeans, right, they took Africa, they consolidated Africa, and they took the energy from Africa to give form to energy they want to, the way they want to do it. That's breaking up now, but that's what's happening. Okay? So, now the energy is here. Now we're going to experience the energy. It says it comes to you but of a sudden. It says that energy is momentous in the heavens and the earth. So it's absorbed by earth. Earth converts to form we can use. It says, but it comes to you but of a sudden. So that means we're in the process about to experience that full blast of that energy right now. Because it's being converted. We're about to get a full blast. Because once we get that blast energy, because see, we got that blast energy back back in 1860s. That's the first time we got the first positive one, right? And it caused a civil war and everything else, right? That we was able to break their physical chains. 50 years later, the mental chain. 50 years later, the social chain. Because now we're trying to bring ourselves back together. That's how we focus that energy. See, because you want to bring your body back together, like trying to get healthy. So we're trying to bring ourselves back together. So what I'm trying to say is, if this is the state we are in right now, all the nations, right? This burst of energy, they're going to use this energy, right, to bring themselves back, pull themselves more back together now. Because back in the 60s, right, all these nations, they was under control, direct under control of the European countries. And they start breaking free of that control back in the 60s. Because everybody wants to be back in control, they want their independence. But right now, the force of the Europeans is keeping them from coming back together, be coherent again. If you understand what I'm trying to say. So, this says, this burst of energy that we're about to experience, we're going to get the full blast any day now, right? That energy will be used for us to bring us back together. Unity, because we haven't had that. In over 500 years, we haven't had it. See? But that same energy will affect all other nations too. So Africa, right, the next one after us, right, see, they're coming together in a form. They're coming together more than they are right now. I'm going to show it in the next slide, right? And Asia, in Orient, right? See? But as they come back together, it means they'll be forcing the Europeans out. Because now Europeans got all this control, they're all over the place, and they're going to force them into a smaller space back into Europe. That means they can put a lot of pressure on them. Whereas they can't stand pressure, they can't take pressure. So let's go to the next slide and see if we can make sense of this. See here? Now, based on my study of AL-INJIL, what it's telling us is, like Africa, it's not come back together totally. Still not enough energy for that. But it's not going to be all these different states anymore. It's only going to be 2 states. It's going to be non-Islamic Africa and Islamic Africa. It'll be 2 categories. There won't be all these different states anymore, so they don't come together to that extent. So it's going to be broken down, so it'll come down to 2 categories, right? The next one after that would be Asia. So we see the primary distinction there is between like Pakistan and India. So it says they're going to come together, whether by force or by agreement or diplomacy, but it says they're going to come together. Because they're divided. And most of the British empires caused that division. See? So now you got Africa, right? And the 2, now instead of all these different African states, Nigeria, Mali, South Africa, Ethiopia, it's going to have two states. See? Instead of India being India and Pakistan, it'd be just one country. Whether by force or otherwise, that's what happened because they have enough energy to make that happen. So maybe India force it, I'm explaining to you what to expect because I've only been talking to you from our perspective. See, so now I'm trying to give you the world global perspective. Because that makes you understand some of the things that's going on. Because you see this happening right now, perspective, so you see something that's happening right now, but you don't understand what's going on. And mostly you see it, right, in the Orient, maybe some in Asia, because they don't news. They cover most stuff like Europe and Asia and Orient and Asia to some extent when it has to do with something affects America somehow. Anyway, so we talk about the Orient. We see the major division right now is right. You got Taiwan. Remember that's one of the problems they have right now, right? Taiwan. They're trying to. China said they want to come together. So we see signs already there, because energy is starting to show. But if we get the full blast, then it start percolating through. But it had the full blast. So what it's telling you is that all that divisions in the Orient, they'll come together and be under all the Orient be controlled under China. All the Orient be controlled under China. See? And Pakistan and India probably be controlled under Pakistan. Whether by force or diplomacy, there'd be enough energy to bring them together. And it'd be enough energy for us to come together. See? In two parts, right? Because we're going to flush out the demons. So it'd be enough energy for us to come back together. That's the unity. That's the four winds blowing, so to speak. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I said it's an analogy, but I'm trying to get you the concept of how it affects all nations. But that's what you're going to see when the war starts. See, when the war starts, that war itself is result of that energy. Because when that comes together, the Europeans are going to come together even more than they are now, but they'll come together in conflict. And that's very difficult concept to explain, so I'm going to try to go slowly, try to explain it to you. Because they was all over the place. Now they're forced in together, right? But so now they like it crosses, they start surging against each other. Because now they come together, but because the nations pushed them out, now they pushed them together. So now their temperature is going to be higher than anybody else's. Because remember, they have a lower structure, so they're going to have a higher temperature. Right? So that temperature is going to reach the boiling point for anybody else's. That means the temperature, that means they're colliding. That's war. See? But in that war, who would win the war? The one has the greatest structure, which would be the Shia, because the one's on the top, right? That's the Islamic part that has greater structure. So they would win that war. They're boiling, Europeans boiling, but they would win that war. So I'm going to take a short break here, boss. Just percolate that for a second. So I'm going to take a little time just to try to make sure you understand this concept. Say, for instance, you take and you have some meat you took out of the freezer, right? And you got some meat that's already thawed out. So you put both of them into a boiling, you put both of them into a different pot both of them boiling, right? So the first one will start cooking, the one that's already thawed out, but the other one, it's got to go through the process of thawing out first before it actually start cooking. See? Because the state that it's in, right? So once it thaws out, then it starts cooking. So these other nations, they was all separated, so their energies they get, they're going to use it to try to pull themselves back together. But Europeans don't have that problem. So their energy, right, will take, it's like putting heat under, right, a pot. It raises the temperature. That means it's start moving around faster. But the faster you move, right, the more collisions you have. And we know, if you understand, those who are studying pressure, the more fast you move, the more collision. That's the definition of conflict. And so the greater temperature, the greater conflict, the greater temperature, right? The greater collision. That means at some point the conflict gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And for analogy, say boiling point. I mean now you have war. I mean, near boiling point you may have war, but then the war gets more intense. The more the collisions are. So their energy is not being used to pull themselves together. The energy is being used, right, to motivate them, activate them faster and faster and faster. But that becomes conflict. That's different of conflict. So while the other nations' energy that might be conflict for them too. But that is a conflict of unity. Like for instance, in Orient, that may be conflict too for them because they might go to war to bring Taiwan. So that's the energy we use for that. But that's unifying. They ain't gonna be after we unify them. That's it, right? But in Europe, they may go to war, but their war, right, is not to unify them. It's just they just fight with each other. I hope I'm explaining that clearly enough. So it's how you get the energy, how you use it. So now they're pushed out from all the nations. See, because they used it in order to pull themselves together, they pushed the Europeans out. So now, another way to look at it, there's a smaller space. In other words, if you have people, right, say in a room, and everybody's sitting down, comfortable, right? See? And then you take everybody in that room, say you got 20 people in the room, right? They take everybody and put them in the bathroom. They're all 20 people in the bathroom. Now they're all crowded. Now they're pushing each other. Now they're angry. Man, I ain't got no room. See what I'm saying? Because now, right? Because they're in a smaller space. So now the Europeans going to move in a smaller space because now they pushed out from all the nations. Now they forced back down, right? Because when China brings control, that's probably including Australia. Right? All those places over there. So it may run the Australians out, or you take control of them, because that's their region. They're going to have control of that whole region. Because that's what they had control of before. Before the Europeans came and broke everything up. Africa wasn't broken up all those pieces before the Europeans came, broke it up. A lot of those nations, they defined themselves. Same thing with Asia. Same thing else, they broke us up. We wasn't broken up before that. So however they come together, maybe war or diplomacy or whatever, they're coming together. But in the pace of Europe situation, right, the point is they're already together, so that energy, right, will take and motivate them more and energize them, and that means more collisions because they can't achieve harmonic motion. See, which would be peace and tranquility. They can't achieve that because they're too weak. They have a weaker structure. So they start moving around faster and faster and faster, right? And that's conflict. I know maybe it's difficult for you to understand how pressure works. That's the way it works. So if you have steel balls colliding with porcelain balls, right? And they move faster and faster and faster, sooner or later porcelain balls will start cracking. And steel balls, they might get a couple of inches, they're going to win that situation. And that's what you have. That's why we understand the Shia, the Islamic part, that's the heart, that's the most structural part of each nation, right? When they go, they will win because they're the steel, they're all the porcelain. I'm I'm trying to give you the mathematics behind what's happening, what's about to happen. So you see signs already. Because you see the more conflict between Pakistan and India, right? We know from what I'm telling you, result is that they're going to be coming together. They're going to come together. You see all this stuff going on because that's the energy percolating up. It hasn't hit full force yet. It's like what drizzling. You see it drizzling. You know a storm is coming. First you just see drizzling. So we see drizzling now. So we see China mushing on top of it. All this stuff wasn't happening 2 years ago. It wasn't even happening a year ago. But I'm talking about this for 30 years. Now I'm making it very clear. And you only light you're getting, you're not getting anybody talking about this. They have no idea. They got all kinds of crazy stuff they saying makes no sense. These clowns talking about, it's the Islamic Empire. They're the ones that, yeah, I have no idea what we're talking about. I'm being very clear, very precise, giving names and times and how and when. See? So now you see all of a sudden, right, China making a move on Taiwan. You see Africa talking about united Africa. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you, brothers and sisters, what's going on here. Okay? So as our unity, because when we was going to so-called civil rights, when you saw this, go back and check the 50s. 50s, when we was going to so-called civil rights, just trying to get civil rights, you saw Africa breaking out of colonialism. You saw Asia breaking out of control of Britain, right? Severing control. You see China, right? Breaking out of control of the Soviet Union. You saw this stuff start happening. All they start receiving their independence. It was very, very obvious in Africa. Everybody started breaking away from control of their former European controllers. See? And we was trying to get social control here. But that was just enough energy to do that. So now the energy we're about to get now is enough to unify us. See? After 50,000 years. You understand, brothers and sisters? That's the story. So we're going to go more in detail about this. But I need you to understand this. Okay. So like I said, Africa will not have enough energy to become total, totally one continent like China did, but they broke it up into two parts too. So no, all these nations won't be anymore. It'll just be two: non-Islamic and Islamic Africa. Non-Islamic Africa, right, is going to be with this beast. Islamic Africa is going to go with that's the Levites. They're going to go with fraud. That's no topic. I'm not going to talk about that too much here. Maybe not at all. Okay. So, in light of that, we're going to talk about this little horn. What's this little horn? Okay, let me make an adjustment here. I never talk about that too much. I'm going to try to go into a little more detail today. Because see, this deals with Africa. Africa's role in all this. I never talked about Africa's role in all this that much. See, I talk about China, the dragon, right? Europe, but I never talk about Africa too much because that's really the African part is not going to really come into focus until the four winds, and then it really comes into focus a little later. But as a primary actor, as Daniel tell you, like I was saying, they keep this very under wraps. It's one of the hardest things to decode from Daniel and the angel, because it's actually talking about Obama. That's hard to see unless you understand any of this. So I'm going to try to deal with this a little bit. So they talk about this bear. See, now the bear represents African countries. See, the leopard represents, right, the European countries. Now remember, the statue, right? That statue had 2 legs. So that means that the feet, it have 2 feet there. So 10 toes would be, half of it would be on one side and one half would be on the other side, right? And so that's the 2 divisions of Europe. You got Eastern Europe and Western Europe. Well, Eastern Europe is Russia, and Western Europe is the EU. One was prior to 1990. One was communist, and one was democratic. And I was telling you, the leopard, yellow with brown spots, right, represents China and India. Yellow, China, brown spots, India, right? And I says the 10 heads, it had 4 heads and 4 wings. I said the heads represent authoritarian governments and the wings represents democratic. And so if you understand that far, that's what you see. Because China, right, was under the domination of Russia, communism. That's the 4 heads. But India came under the domination of Europe, European countries, right, under the Western Europe, right, and they democracies. See, this gets deeper into Daniel. I said Daniel very subtle. So I'm not going to go too deep there because you can get very deep in Daniel. I don't want anybody to get lost here, right? And then the other 2 toes, right, they were wings. They were Democrats, America and Britain, right? But Britain, right, had dominated India. That's it right there. See, so that's the statue. The top represents us. I got the Nation of Islam there, but that I'll leave it there because it's kind of to help you understand. The brass represents Africa, right? Then you got the silver represents Africa. Then you got the brass. That's with false Israel, they're fool's gold. See, so in other words, they pretend to be gold. They pretend to be us. And then the iron, that's 2 legs, right? They're like a fool's silver. Then you got the toes. Okay. But it talks about this bear. And it said this bear, it said there's these things came out of, let me see if I can see that here. Let me see if I can see if I have that, if I left that here. Okay. Yeah, okay, talk about these beasts. 4 beasts came up out of the sea, each different from the other. 4 beasts came up out of the sea, each different from the other. The first like a lion, had eagle's wings, right? I watched his wings were plucked off, was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. Man's power was given to it. That's talking about us. That's not talking about the same lion that you see in Angel, because Daniel is supplement to the Angel, but its symbols is different. Are different. Some of them you can use. Anyway, so it says 4 beasts. So I said, okay, the second one, right, was like a bear, right? And the third one was like a leopard. So that's 3 right there. So then it had this 4th one. It says 4th one different than the others. So you think that's a different beast altogether, but it's not. Because if you look at this carefully, I said very subtle. You got so the first one was like a lion, right? A lion is a cat, feline, right? And so is a leopard. See, and the lion, right, he had wings. It didn't say anything about the head, but it said it had 2 wings, right? And the leopard had wings also. But the bear was different. So he's the one that was different from the other beasts. But it says, well, it's 4 of them. What is 4? See? Okay. It says this bear had 3 ribs between his mouth. 3 ribs in his mouth. Okay. But there was also 3 horns, right? That this little horn came up and plucked a 3 by the roots. So we have to go back to that one again because that would make it 4 horns, right? Because he plucked up the first 3. So who is this? So we understand what a leopard is. The leopard represents the goat. The goat had one horn. I explained it earlier. I'll talk a little bit about it now. The goat had, because when you break the goat down, it says after the goat had destroyed the ram, that horn was broken into 4 parts towards the 4 winds. That means that's 8. 4 parts towards the 4 winds, that's 8. That's the 2 heads and the 4 wings, because the 4 wings represents the 4 heads. The 4 wings represents the 4 winds. Wings and winds. So that shows you that the leopard, that horn, that goat on the goat, it's a leopard. Let me say it again, because I hope I don't confuse anybody. The goat had one horn. But that horn represented 4 parts because it was broken up into 4 parts towards the 4 winds. That's 8. And that's what leopard had 4 heads and 4 wings. So that's telling you that horn represents that. So that's the little horn that came amongst the 3 horns. So who's the little? That's the little horn. So who's the 3 horns? When the goat hit against the ram, that was 3 horns. The goat had 1 horn and the ram had 2 horns. That's 3 horns right there. And it said a little horn came amongst them and plucked up the first 3 by the roots. So that little horn, right, is the bear. It's the bear. So that's the 3 creatures. Because it says it came out. Remember, the first one was like a lion but had 2 wings. Right? Those 2 wings. That's the 2 horns. And then the leopard, right, it had 4 wings and 4 heads. Right? But that represents the goat. Right? So that's 1 horn. The wings of the eagle represent 2 horns. That's the ram. The wings on the lion represent 2 horns. Because that represents the ram, right, that was pulled up, plucked up off. The 2 wings are American, Britain, also the 2 horns on the ram. That's 2 horns. Okay? And the leopard, right, I say he's the goat, he represents 1 horn. That's 3 horns right there. So that means the bear was different from all the other ones. He represents that little horn that came up and plucked all 3 up. So he plucked them all 3 up. How do you do that? How can you explain that if you say that the goat took out the ram? Because it said this little horn won't take out all 3 of them. So how does that make sense? If the goat is going to take out the ram, now you're saying that this little horn, the bear, is going to take out, because he's got the 3 ribs with his mouth, right? He's going to take out the ram, but he already said the ram, goat already took out the ram. Because that's where you understand chapter 17. Because it said that goat, right? It says it was 3 beasts. There was a dragon, it had 7 heads and 10 horns, and had crowns upon his heads. And another beast had 7 heads and 10 horns, but the crowns was upon his. No, that was the goat. That was that. Wait a minute, back up here. First you had the dragon, who had 7 heads and 10 horns, and the crowns was upon his heads. That's the dragon. Then you had a beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, right? And the crowns upon his horn. That represents China and India, where the power is going to be in the war, right? The power is going to be transferred to them. That's the crowns. It's going to be transferred because the crowns will be on their horns, right? So because right now the crowns, Europeans are superpowers. But in the war, China and India is going to be the superpowers, and it's going to be a power transfer to them. That's what it's talked about. But then you got another beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, but he had no crowns on any of them. See? If you understand the angel, that represents the African, because you had 3 ones. You had the Orient, Africa, and you had the dragon. So that's Africa they're talking about. See? And it said he would be alongside, that one would be alongside the beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns and the crowns upon his horns. So it said he would be with them. Then when you understand that way, then you understand what's going on. So I'm going to talk very clearly and very slowly here to try to make you understand. When the war breaks out, like I said, remember I said Africa is going to be broken up into 2 parts. It's not going to be this nation anymore. It's going to be Islamic Africa and non-Islamic Africa. Non-Islamic Africa is going to go with Obama. But remember, Obama's here. And a lot of them are already here already. A lot of them are already here. I talk about this in Levites. A lot of them here already, right? They're non-Islamic Africans, but they're here. Millions of them are here already. they're the two winds, two of the two winds that's going to go to war with America and Britain. They're going to hit those two winds that's going to blow to go to war with them. And it'll be led by Obama. Because when they attack, they're going to attack them too. And that's why it says Superman had to preach to the four winds, tell them what's going on, and they're going to prepare. When they see the abomination of desolation, he's going to tell them right just before it happens. They're going to war. See, and Obama's going to be leading because they're going to attack him too. He's black. That's his civil service, wherever they call Secret Service, they're going to be helping him. They're going to be attacking all blacks. So they're already here. They're armed themselves. They're going to be at war. They're going to be fighting. It says they're going to be tearing America, tearing Britain. America, but they're going to be fighting like, and that's what they're not doing for our purposes, right? But that's what give us a little more extra time to cover for a lot of people to escape. Because they're not going to run. They're not going to run and hide. They're not going to flee. We're the ones going to be fleeing. But they're going to stand and fight. See? So, how's they going to pluck up three by the roots? Because at this point in time, this is China's moving in on America. That's the goat. He's coming across the sea without touching land. That means coming across the Pacific Ocean because the goat was coming from the east. He was coming from the east. So they met at America. That's where they both meet. See? The goat was coming across the Pacific and the ram came across the Atlantic. So they met at America. See? And that's where the battle takes place. Right? So they're approaching, right? They're coming into the invasion. They're going to the tribulation period, right? America's being civil war, insurrection, whatever, right? You got the evangelicals. They taking out the false Israel because I told you they hated them because all this stuff going. They're gonna blame them, but they're gonna be trying to get rid of us, right? With all things black, they're fighting amongst each other. Then you got the four winds. You got the Levites that's fighting, right? You got the Sunnis in here. That's the dragon. The dragon's being here. They're gonna be fighting. It's gonna be taking. They're gonna be taking out the NOI. That's still here. NOI still gonna be here because they wasn't taken out because they wasn't prepared. And that's what point of their punishment. They was left behind. Read Mark. They was left behind. They had to go through tribulation. They wasn't delivered because when Michael delivered, he says he took those in the Lamb's Book of Life, but the rest was left behind. But some everlasting life. That means they get to the promised land, but they had to go through tribulation. They were left behind. And the demons, everlasting destruction. See? So you got all this going on in America. That's why I call it a time of unprecedented trouble. Right? It's starving, people eating each other, China's moving in, right? You got the Africans, right? They fighting like hell. You got the Sunnis attacking the Nation of Islam, right? You got the evangelicals turning against false Israel and everybody else and all the black people they can find. America's at war over there with China and they over there with China, India, China and Russia and the EU and some of the African countries over there fighting over there. And then China on this side is moving in on the West Coast. You see, that's what I'm saying. You need to understand it clearly because this will be, if you don't understand this here, you're going to be in total, it will drive you mad. That's what I'm saying, man, we walk around drunk, right? Not having a drunk because all this can be happening one time and they get confused right now. How you think they're going to be at that point in time? I'm bringing all this happen. That's why I said time of unprecedented trouble. It's going to be so much shocking hours. You won't be said nothing like it. He said, "There'll never be a day like another year like this. It'll last for about a year." That's why I'm trying to bring this clearly. And I told you as we close, I bring it clear to you, so you'll be crystal clear, because you'll be a light. Hopefully, you'll be a light before then. If you're united by His angels, you will be a light. Once you get ignited by His angels, you ain't going to contain it. See, you won't be able to contain it. See, some of you get warmed up. Anyway. So now, Russia's moving in. China's moving in. China, India, because they're gonna be working together. They're moving in on the West Coast, right? You got this tribulation, all this stuff going on here, right? And starvation, because there ain't gonna be no distribution. There ain't food in the supermarkets. They already took all that out, and supermarkets be closed down. There ain't been no distribution, none of that. People starving already. All this going on. children running away from their parents, running out in the street, being eaten and everything else. Even then, that's Chinese moving in, right? But when they move in, right, the Africans going to unite with them. That's why it says in chapter 17, they will be alongside. That beast will be alongside the other one. So they're going to unite forces. See, and take out the ram together. So that's two plucked up by the roots. The bear, that's two of them. So he plucked up 3 horns, the other horn's a goat. He plucked up 2, so he's with the goat. So he's plucking up 2, that's ram. See, I said, because he had to do 3. So he said, how to do all 3? Well, that's 2 of them, because he's fighting with them. It says he'll be alongside. It said these 10 kings will make war with they would hate the harlot, make a desolate, eat her flesh, and burn it with fire. That means desert, destroy it, right? And eat her flesh, take all the people that's in good health, are strong, and they would take them out and put them in perpetual slavery. So it said those leading captivity would go into captivity. America led us to captivity. Now they're going to captivity. Worse than what they did to us. Anyway, that's what's happening. See, so they unite. And they take out the ram. But this is where the second part come in, because it tells you, I never talked about this, and I'm not going to go into retail right now because it's not necessary, because this is something that happens after we back home, after we safe and secure, right? That's that final war, because when that happens, right? When that happens, hold on a second, brothers and sisters. 1 second here. When that happens, see, because once we take it out of here, remember, it's still time on present trouble. So they took out the ram, right? Then a flood still has to come. That's when they knock out all the European countries. And then it says they're going to fight amongst each other. It says Africa, non-Islamic Africa, led by Obama. He's the one they call Lucifer. Lucifer and Satan are not the same person. It says, then, right, he says, I want, because non-Islamic, it's not going to be, see, the bear was different, so it's not going to be communist, it's going to be democracy. It's going to be a military organization, militaristic, led by Obama. Who knew, right? It says what they're going to do is they're going to go to war against China and India. And it says it's going to defeat them. That's how all 3 gets plucked up. He was with them and took out the ram. So after they took out the ram, that's 2 of them, and then they go against each other, he takes them out. So now he has control of the whole world except for us in the Middle East. So the whole world except for us in the Middle East. And that's why it says, they're going to see, right, us at peace and security, and they're going to say, let's go take them out. That's what it says in Scripture. That's Obama leading that. I told her this 30 years ago. I said the final war will be between the African black man and the Asiatic black man. And I got a book here to prove it. I can find it real quick. No, I can't. Here it is, right here. No, yeah. Now I don't know if you can even see this. Oof. Right here, this book right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here, called Tekel. Right, the book written 30 years ago. See, the struggle of the black nations. That's what I call it. The struggle of the black nations. And if you can see that, that's just in there, right? See, because that's the final war. So he plucks them up, but remember that little stone that was cut out of the mountain without any hands. That mountain is that statue. It doesn't have any hands. Read the statute. Statute has, let me move on here. I have here. That statue, right? It has 2 feet, toes, 2 legs, 2 arms, breast, torso, head, but it doesn't have any hands. That's very subtle. Doesn't have any hands. See? So, and that's the stone that came out of it, because remember, it tells you that Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom will be given back to him at the end of time. So that means that's us. And says that would kill all. So that means that one, remember, the bear knocked out the other 3. But then the stone would knock out the bear too, knock out everything. Because the bear became control of all the nations. That's why I see in the 4th, he got all the nations, a composite of all the nations. Because now he's controlling everything. He controls everything except us. That's the final war. It says it takes 6 months to bury the dead. But we don't worry about that right now. We're back home. See? But it'd be a momentous war, because we'd be outnumbered like 1,001. I mean, he's going to have hundreds of millions of soldiers, right? We might look if we had a couple million, a few million. It says Farad's going to go to war and Suleiman's going to go to war. It says they're going to make their flesh roll off their bones. Anyway, I thought I wanted to bring it up about that, because the main point here, right? The main point I'm bringing up here is, I'm trying to get you, there's 10 toes there. There's 10 toes I was talking about there. Let's see if I see something else here. Here, there's the bear. Okay. Main thing I wanted to get you to see here is, go on. It's the goat. Main thing I want you to get you to see here is how I understand about that bear and how it takes place here, because the Africans, the Levites, right, mostly Christians, they're non-Islamic, they're here already, right? See, they're here already. And when China and India come invading, they're going to ally with them. See, they're going to combine forces. They seize all the cities. There'll be no food coming in, water. They said they're going to drink blood, so water will not be able to come in. The water, they won't be able to have drinking water. See? But they're going to be so scared. And you say, why don't they give up? Because they see other people give up, they get their head blown off, because they ain't taking any prisoners. So eating their own flesh, eating their own children, and drinking blood, because that lays siege, right? Until it's broken, totally broken. They say it totally broke the ram, it stuffed them into the dust, stuffed them in the ground. Going to totally break America. And the only ones, the lucky ones, is going to be the ones that's taken out here into slavery. And that's going to be worse than they're the lucky ones. Because they will have no mercy on them. Because everybody hates America. And China says China will be full of wrath. Full of wrath. They're going to be full of wrath. And isn't China full of wrath now? If you didn't see anything like what the scriptures tell you, you didn't see even a year ago, you didn't see anything like this. And I've been talking about this for years. Those that have been aware of a couple of years ago, even when I was talking about this a couple of years ago, you didn't see the scenario you're talking about right now. Even I was talking about a couple of years ago. I was talking about you. Some of you have been listening for 2 and 3, 4 years. Some of you have been listening a couple of years. Some of you listen even more than that. You don't say it. But those you listen a couple of years. Even a couple of years ago, you didn't see a scenario where I'm talking about the goat. You didn't see this going on right now. I mean, you see me talking about it, but you didn't see China's angry at America as spitting every day. They're going to break America's head. They better get out of Taiwan. They're going to war. They wouldn't even talk about going to war a year ago. Now they actually talking, in so-called Israel, they say they got a budget of $1.5 billion just to attack Iran. They're saying it. So it means they tell them, I'm getting ready to attack you. I'm getting ready to punch you in the face. I mean, what else do they need to do? I'm going to punch you in the face. And Iran said, bring it on. He said, you're going to need a whole lot more money than that to fix the devastation we're going to put on your ass. This is how he talk, and I've been talking about this for quite some time. So I just want to bring this into focus for you, brothers and sisters. I hope you understand. See, like I said, I promise you, as we get closer, I bring it more and more and more into focus. Make it clearer and clearer and clearer. So now you understand better about those 4 winds. See? Because they're going to be united. Man. They're going to be led by Obama. And then once that's happened, then he's going to hook up with the rest of Africa, non-Islamic Africa. Because the whole world's going to be at war. First, you got to take out the European countries. Then China, India, and Africa start fighting with each other. And it says that, because people don't realize there's a lot of people in China, but if you add up all the African nations, they got as many people over there as they got in China. The reason why they don't look at it, because they got something to look at each nation independently. But if you add them all together, they got as much population as they got in China almost. And they've been at war for forever. All the children, a lot of the children, that's all they know is war of their life. Anyway, that's what would happen. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So when they say a time of unprecedented trouble, they mean that. It's going to be chaos in America. And that's why I said, those, right, who the good is going forth, that means those in the Lamb's Book of Life, when they hear the faintest sounds of raging and running, that means this tribulation, that means we still going to war over there once we get home, because we got to take that land back. But I'm talking about this tribulation is going on here. You won't hear the faintest sound, you won't be here. But in Ohio, they're going to be here because they didn't listen. They were supposed to build a bridge between the messenger and the messenger of the covenant. Instead, they let lying, no good, disemboweled Farrakhan deceive them, and they built mansions for him instead. See? So he was plagued by demons. That's why it says in Mark, Jesus told him, no, you can't go with me. When they was departed, he said, no, you can't go, you got to stay here. That's what Farad's going to tell him. That's what Suleiman going to tell him. Your name ain't in my book. You got to stay here because I try to talk to you, but listen. See? And so our people's blood's on your hands. And so these people, our people that's left behind, you got to stay here and correct straight. You got to stay there and get them, pull them together. You got to clean them up under those conditions. Because if you had listened, that would never happen. How could you be deceived by lying fire? How could you be deceived when all the signs are clear? Disembowelment, Aaron, his father's the devil. I mean, he even says, Elijah Muhammad said, his worst hypocrites. How was you deceived? So now you got to go through this. See? So it's not going to be a pretty picture, brothers and sisters. It tells you there's going to be 2 major hell spots on earth. One is false Israel over there, but it says the sons going to eat their fathers and fathers eat their sons. But they're going to go under siege. This siege is going to be as bad as the siege over here. So there's 2 hell spots. 2 major hell spots. Britain's going to be in trouble too, but 2 major hell spots. We're here in America as far as Israel. But the main hardest tribulation is going to be right here. That's the abomination for Parliament over there. But the true tribulation they're talking about is going to happen right here in the soul on America. And this is the last place you want to be. Well, we're going to stay here, really? Well, yeah, he's right. He's not lying about that. He's staying here. But we don't want him. He's going to be here. Him and all his demons. And that's the whole thing. You're going to have a demon war too. I didn't mention that. Because that's these blacks, demons. Because when we cast them down, the member said, they said, oh, don't make us leave the country. Let's cast it over to the swine daddy. That's what the Quran called them. The swine daddies. They're massive. And what they got to fight and they run the cliff together. Because that's the locust. They're going to be, you got the Africans fighting. Right? They fighting Massa. Right? You got the demons fighting Massa. See? Because Massa trying to kill them. They fighting Massa too. Right? See? Then you got the Sunnis. They attacking the Nation of Islam. See? Because now it's clear that that's all they can't leave the country. So they know Nation of Islam is going to be taking that land back over there when they get, so they're trying to stop as many of them while they're over here. right? You got evangelicals, right? They're attacking all black people and also attacking false Israel. We got total chaos going on here. I ain't even mentioned the people south of the border in Canada. I'm talking about America, but they're gonna be involved too. And you got a lot of people coming from the south, from the south, you know, from that part. They won't come in. They're gonna be raging hell too, because they say this is their opportunity to get their country back. They may be looking at it like that, but there's nobody's gonna inherit America. Now for 1,000 years, this country's gonna be burned so bad, they're gonna burn down so bad. Nothing to be lived here but owls for like about 10,000 years. It's been burned up so bad. So I'm trying to get you to understand, when they say time of present trouble, brothers and sisters, and mostly probably talking about us, because that's time, right, that they're going to really be trying to and finally eradicate. They can't eradicate original people, they're going to try. See? And that's why it says, Master, I'm going to snatch us out just in time. Just at a time with not a second to spare. It's like Abraham tried to was going to stab his son's heart, and just before it pierced the skin, Fry grabbed his hand and said no. And got the ram instead. That's how close it's going to come. See? But the rest people here, ooh. See? And everybody's going to be fighting, or you're going to be eating. Everybody's going to be fighting, or you're going to be eating. A lot of people are going to be eating. See? You ain't have no friends. You ain't have no friends. Because you go to sleep, you're going to wake up in the pot. Do you understand how bad it's going to be, brothers and sisters? So, think about that, because you don't want to be here. So, all you scriptees and you time makers out there, we got something for you. See, and you see a messy black man get you out of that. See if something in there will get you out of that. Because if you don't ain't in the Lamb's Book of Life, you ain't getting out of here. Now you can talk you pull all the crap out your ass you want to. Show me how you gonna get out of here. Show me, you don't factor sometimes I'm gonna go to Africa. You better go there right now. But you think that's gonna be safe? If they're gonna save you? No, it ain't. But go on, if that's what you think. But you better go right now, quick. See? So show me when messy black man to explain all this here I just explained to you. And show me anything I said was wrong. And show me how it's going to save your ass. Okay. So you will be right here, and you'll get full blast. And the thing is, you ain't coming out of it. You scriptees, time makers, you're not coming out of this. You're going to go down here. You ain't coming out. The NOI, read the story about Exodus, right? What happened? It says Joshua, Suleiman, and Elijah, right? They appeared, right? And so they came to the camp. There was a sign of war and left, and not a sign of victory, but a sign of defeat, right? But a sign of joy. So the people were celebrating. But it wasn't, that means the war is going on. But it hasn't been a defeat or victory yet. So they don't know who's going to win. And see, they expected false Israel to win because they believed the sealed Bible. And that's why they're rejoicing. See, so it's during that time that Elijah shows up. And that's another story I'm going to talk about later. I was going to throw it today, but I'm going to talk quite a bit, so I'm going to cut it short here. That's when they show up. So the thing is, it says, what happens? It says, Elijah says, all of those with the Lord, he'll say all those with me, to those with the Lord, come with me. And those with Aaron, right? So that's when they separate Farrakhan's people. As soon as I come to the temple, because he's the Lord that Elijah's talking about. So you got to separate between demons and the saints. And then what happens? All the Farrakhan's people destroyed, kicked out. See, those are all the demons. See? And those are the ones that says, some of the everlasting life, some of the everlasting shame and appointment. So everlasting life and some of the everlasting shame and appointment. So the saints, those are the ones that was with Elijah, or that came over with Elijah, those ones, they go into tribulation. But they're going to be delivered out of it. They will get out of it. That's a whole other story I'm not going to talk about right now, because they're going to have to fight their way to the West Coast, and they're going to be allowed to pass through. And then, because they're going, you can look at China as so-called, I'm not going into detail, the Red Sea, don't let them pass, they're going to close it on Pharaoh's armies. But the rest of you demons and you scripties and your vipers, you're going down with them. See? Couldn't ask for a better result, because our people's lives is on your, because you're making your little pennies and dimes and nickels off our people with your bullshit, right? Talking about you the seventh angel and you all this and all that. You son of man and all this crap you're saying, and you ain't under that. And instead of standing up and getting out of the way, our people walking in the darkness, your shadow, then you got them in a fog with your bullshit. And so I'm going to be destroyed because of that. Our people lost because of lack of knowledge. Why? Because the knowledge is not that the knowledge is not there. The knowledge is there because you're blocking it. So you got that blood on your hands, and you're going to pay it. See? No mercy for you. See, I said, brothers and sisters. Yeah, this bear. See? He's different from the lion. See, his lion got two wings and leopard got, see, he's different. He's the one that's different. He's the fourth one. Because this represents two with horns. This represents the other that go horn to goat. He's the ones that pluck up tree by the roots. We understand, brothers and sisters. We're going to leave it there. See? We're going to leave it there. Assalamu alaikum.